Yes, because the CISO needs to take his strategy and then put it in the terminology of showing the board that if we don't do this the way that I need to do it, then we're going to see issues where if we have a major breach, then you're going to see stock price maybe go down. You're going to see consumer confidence go down. It may hit profits. So that's the sort of language that these guys understand because it affects how their company looks and operates. Yeah, so basically the way that the threats are evolving at the moment is very interesting because you've got a situation where you could see the threats being developed by a 16-year-old sitting in a bedroom, downloading malware, creating his own small threat. You could actually have a group of hackers coming together and targeting specific corporations to hack them in an ethical manner for whatever reason or another. But again, there's this constant evolution that's this ebb and flow of how CISOs are actually trying to stay one or two steps ahead of how these threats evolve. Now, there are a lot more educated people in this world who would probably be able to predict how these threats and how the landscape is going to evolve. But personally, I think that we're going to see some interesting breaches this year. We're going to see some big companies getting hit simply because maybe the CISOs aren't keeping up with, or maybe the investment isn't there for them to make sure their networks are actually going to be able to mitigate these threats. How do you speed that up? Again, that's an interesting question because it's a situation where you could have the best network in the world, but you actually want to see how your people actually evolve, because that's still the biggest threat to any corporation is actually the human being, the interface, the guy that's actually sitting behind a desk, because we all live in a digital world. So you could actually have the best network, but your people are actually still your biggest threat within your organization. Not because they're trying to do anything malicious or wrong, but we all live in a digital age, so you do your shopping online and you do your banking online. But most of the time you're doing that probably from your office desk. Now, if the corporates aren't actually stopping that from happening, then you're almost inviting the opportunities to have a breach. So educating your staff about how they actually look at malware, how they can actually spot a fake web page, how they can actually spot a malicious link that looks completely genuine, but if they're not educated in the right way, you could actually see a situation where one person in a corporation global that clicks on that link, and next thing you know, you've got the entire thing. It's as simple as locking down thumb drives on people's laptops and desktops. Biggest threat is people just bringing in thumb drives from home, because the home computer probably doesn't have the same amount of protection, and they've done something at home, they brought it in because it's a document they need to update, and next thing you know, the whole network's infected. So it's making sure those policies are actually implemented correctly, educating your staff, and I think that's when you're going to catch up, and you're going to then overtake the actual attackers, and you're going to start to stay one or two steps ahead. Implementing those policies, then you've got a good chance you're going to mitigate a majority of those threats. Probably it's about, I would probably say, probably one of the biggest things you could probably do is you look at your network, you think you've got it right, get some independent third-party testing. Get some guys in to do, we've got some very good security business partners that are out there. And if you actually get these guys to come in, you might spend a couple of $1,000s. You might actually get it for free. But these guys come in, they do penetration testing, and then they might be able to provide a report and say, this is where you've got a hole, this is where you've got a hole, this is where you're safe, this is where you're safe. And it's easier to do it there and then, once or twice a year, just to actually test how good your network is, because the threats are always evolving. The threats, these guys understand how the software works within sandboxing. They understand how all of the different firewalls work, and they're constantly evolving those solutions to try and evade the detection. So what you might be work for you right now might actually have a hole in it in 3 months' time. So constantly testing and flexing your muscles to see how well your network is, that's the way you're going to really know how safe and how secure you are.